This is a ATEM to Visca controller. What it does is it takes program return in from the ATEM, which has all the CCU and PTZ data, and it converts it to RS422 for controlling Vista devices. Now this is a bit different to my previous ATEM to Vista controller in as much as this one actually can control the maximum number of Vista cameras all in a loop through the RS422 on this reconnector. So you can have up to 7 Visca cameras running from this one port, and you can have all your ATEM cameras coming in through the SDI return. It has power, 12 volt power coming in to power the device, and you can do some configurations over the USB, but you don't need that plugged in, only if you're configuring. It's got an LED on the top. Now that LED, I'll explain that in a moment, but it in different states shows different statuses. Well, the first thing that I need to talk to about is the fact is that an ATEM vision switcher has many more inputs than just 7 that the Visca protocol caters for. And in the settings, you can actually allocate every one of the 7 Visca commands to any of the available camera sources on an ATEM. So if you have an ATEM constellation which has got 40 inputs, you can actually allocate any one of the 40 inputs to any one of the 7 controllable Visca devices. That becomes nice and handy. So first of all, I'm just going to quickly show you the setup parameters that you can do using the USB connector and a serial terminal such as PuTTY, like I do in all my devices. So up here, this is the PuTTY screen for the device. You can see it explains that it's an ATEM to Visca controller. That's the software version. That's the serial number, and these are the allocations. And what this shows you is it shows you the Visca channels. Now you see here, this is 1 to 8. Visca actually has 8 channels, of which it only allows 7 for controllable devices, but I have found that you can actually have an 8th one, but I won't go into that for the moment. And then it currently shows you the current baud rate that it's operating the Visca at, and there's just a little adjustment here to how bright you want the LED to glow during normal operation. If it's up too high, it hurts your eyes. So what we can do with with this particular window, first of all, if we just type in a question mark, it just shows you our options that we have. So you can reboot it, you can display status, or you can configure it. So if I just hit S for status, it just shows you what we were looking at before. But I want to configure it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into configuration mode. So if I go Shift capital C, here it is going into the configuration mode. Now in the configuration mode, we can adjust the ATEM to Vista allocations. If I just arrow down, we can adjust the baud rate accordingly, and we can adjust the LED brightness. These are all set for what you would normally use, but you can change them if the need requires it. So in the ATEM to Vista allocations, if we hit a right arrow on the keyboard, we can then it'll show you the Vista port. So as I arrow down, it'll show you the different Vista ports. As I say, there's 7, but in this case you can actually access 8, and it shows you the corresponding ATEM input. So as I can go down, you can see it'll go down all the way down to 8. So if I just go back up to say 1 again, these Vista port 1. Now if I use the right key, you have a look at the ATEM source change. If I hold my finger down, you see it'll go right up. Now this will go up to 40, I think, maximum. So, but it doesn't self-allocate depending on the ATEM, because using the interface, it doesn't know what type of an ATEM it's connected to. So just be aware that you may select a source that's just not available, but that's up to you to do it if you do that. So let's just say we want to make the first the first Visca port one. We want to make it activate on ATEM source 6, and there we have it. So we can then arrow down and do all the other ones if we need to. Arrow back up again, you'll see there's the one that we set there. So I'm going to hit enter just to save it. I'm going to hit escape now, and if I hit the status, you'll notice now that Visca port number 1 is now allocated to ATEM camera 6. If that's a little bit too confusing for you, just stop for a moment and have a bit of a think about it, and then you'll understand the way it works. This is going to be a very quick video, so I'm just showing you that allocation. I won't show you the other things. They're pretty basic. And now I'm just going to quickly discuss this LED on the front. Now the LED will display a few different colours. At the moment it's showing cyan. Now the reason it's showing cyan is because the last Vista port that I controlled from the ATEM was input number 5, I think it is, because the colours go, and I'll do them one at a time. So the first camera 1, as I control Vista port 1, you'll see it's red, then it's going to be green, and then the third camera is going to be blue, fourth camera is going to be magenta, fifth camera is going to be yellow, sixth camera is going to be cyan, and the seventh camera is white. So basically you get 7 colours, or you get 8 because black's basically a colour as well. If it comes up as black, which I'll try and do now, it means that the last camera selected, there you go, the last camera selected was not allocated, so you will not get any Vista commands going out the Vista port. So I'll just go back to red, for instance. So there's red. Another interesting thing this LED will do is that if you go into configuration mode like I was just in, I just here and go capital C again. There you go. I've got to try and do this one-handed. We're in configuration mode. I'll go back to the LED, and now you see it's flashing between red and blue. I call that police lights because it's in your configuration mode, so it's not in all operation. So if I just escape out of that, it'll go back to the normal mode. Now here's the other little trick you can do. If you actually unplug the SDI, after about 3 seconds it realises that it's lost connection to the ATEM through the SDI, so it's actually just cycling through all 7 colours. So that just gives you an indication that you're connected. So if I go back and plug that in again, doing this all one-handed, there you go, it's gone back to the last colour. And again, as I select different cameras, it will show you the colour. Currently I have one of my joystick controllers going through the PTZ to ATEM controller, which controls the ATEM through the Ethernet, and I've got that actually on the joystick here. So as I change the cameras, so this go camera 1, and you move that, you'll see that it's actually I've selected camera 2. But so it's not just what you're controlling on the ATEM; it's whatever peripheral you've got plugged into the ATEM as well. So it will follow that. The other thing that I wanted to mention, I just wanted to show you this. Currently I don't have any Vista PTZs to demonstrate it being used, so I've just got a little box at the back here, which is a little box I just designed for internal use, for giving me statuses on the Vista, what's coming out the Vista, because you've got to remember that all 7 Visca cameras are all being controlled through this one RS422 port, which can be seen on, let me just go and bring this down here. There's a block diagram, so you can see these are your Visca devices, and they're all connected through looping through RS422s. They can also be parallel if you're tricky with the wiring. This is the ATEM. This is the SDI return video, which is going into my box here, the ATEM to Visca, which is then doing all the commands. And then I've just got over here, I've got one of my, I've just got a joystick going to my PTZ ATEM. So that's the full circle. So the joystick's going all the way back around to a Visca controller, which can be a PTZ. And then this box that I'm talking about back here, that's just analysing the Visca data. So if you have a look at that data coming out of here, this is displaying all. If I just go back down here and just say adjust camera 1's focus, you can see all the Visca data coming out. It's the next camera. So I can just do there's iris, adjusting the iris, doing the zoom, and of course if I'm using the PTZ controller, you can see the pan and tilts occurring all there. So there it is. I'll give you more detail about this box a little later on once I get all the paperwork done, and I'll give you a link to the user manual. Goodbye.